Okay, so just to finish my point, like you see why I get so upset because you don't even understand the fundamentals of the race of elves on this show. And you don't care,
Yeah.
and you don't care because your screenwriting education says we need to have a love story. And the love story in this show is Galadriel is in love with Sauron, and that's going to be heart-wrenching. That would never happen, dude. That would never happen. It's not, you're missing the boat. And if that's the case, then you need to create other characters. Why don't you just give me a human character? Think about it. Do we even have a human character on the show? I can't think of one. It's the dwarf, it's the elves.
I don't
Um there's a
think
there's
so.
some there are some human ones,
I
but
don't remember, honestly. It's been so
exactly.
long that I don't remember.
There aren't really a lot of
So,
human leads on the show that like if you want to make that happen, make it between a human and an elf. To make it between Sauron, who is literally an angelic being higher than an elf, and an elf, that only happened. That also only happened once, but not between a good and an evil. It was between the mother of Luthien. Um,
right.
her mother was also like a same kind of being of Sauron, and she fell in love with an elven king. But like it's two positive energies. It's not like one evil, one positive. That goes against the entire premise of what's going on in the Middle Earth, which the whole point of what's going on in Middle Earth is basically that Morgoth stole the Silmaril from Feanor, and that led to the elves in their pride and love for beauty and their greed for beauty to go into Middle Earth to get it back from him. And when those get lost in the Second Age, then this happens with the Rings of Power, Sauron being a disciple of Morgoth and taking up the
Right.
mantle. And that really honestly only happens from a writing standpoint so that then we can have the setup for Lord of the Rings, because how did the rings come about? But
Right.
um but it's always the premise of good versus evil, in the sense of evil is obsessed with materialism, is being and good gets caught up into that when they become greedy and inflexible and all of that, which is a very classic mythological viewpoint of what leads mankind into folly when you take oaths and you don't follow them. That was a huge thing in the Middle Ages, in the medieval time. So you can't just change that. If you want to have a love story, have a love story, but you can't take someone like Galadriel and Sauron and make a love story out of that. And like you said, change her entire character and being. Elves don't change. They
Yeah.
don't change. And what's really amazing about her is the fact that she was always rebellious. She was always strong. She stood on her own and she created her own kingdom. She's the only one that did that. She created her own kingdom, and that kingdom lasted all the way through into Lord of the Rings, as we know.
Which
Because
is
Lord,
so long.
it is.
Exactly.
Galadriel
It's
is
like
like is as old as time, practically.
literally
Yeah,
exactly.
here
It's
we're
like
like here we're like in this story in the Second Age, we're literally like in her 30s. You know what I mean, in terms of like how much
which
time.
is she's a baby. Literally a
Yeah,
baby.
yeah. Sauron is even older than her. Um,
Which is
so
crazy.
and that doesn't really apply to beings like that. Is That's why it makes me laugh, because I'm like, what are you talking about? It's Galadriel. If a human being told me that, if a human character or even a hobbit told me that, I get it, because they don't know what's going on, right? Like if you think about it, it's like you're born into your family and you have to learn like why your aunt doesn't get along with this aunt. You know what I mean? Like you have to learn the family rivalries growing up,
Right.
but they have nothing to do with you. You were born into it, and you're trying to figure it out. That's what humans and hobbits are in Middle Earth. The fighting is between literally elves and these fallen angelic beings. You know what I mean? and
Yeah,
and the
it's
and the gods, as if they were the archons. they're kind of in the background by now, but they're like supporting the elves. But you kind of don't need them because you have the elves and they stand by their own strength. When you think of elves,
Mm-hmm.
for people of your generation, like what do you guys think of when you think of elves? Like what is the draw?
Okay,
What is
when
how are they presented to you? Like what is the draw?
like they're aesthetically pretty, but also because they themselves as a race see themselves as superior. There's different subclasses of elf. Also, there's like wood elves. There's um,
Yeah,
high elves, which
right,
I think are closer to what Tolkien talks about.
right.
Um,
No, Tolkien had all of that. They took all of that from Tolkien. He did
right,
have they
thought so.
simplified it into wood elves and dark elves and high elves. That's just based on the divisions that he created based on the story, the backstory of how the elves even came to be. The whole point of the elves is just like we want to be left alone, we want to be with our people, and we want to have a good time. So if you're about that,
Right, so they're like sheltered
there,
racist
yeah, like if
people.
you're about that, if you want to have a, we'll tolerate you. We're fine. But if you're gonna come over here and you're gonna bring your shit around here and you're gonna try to change things, we don't want you here.
We are chill, we are cool, and we can allow ourselves to be because we are so in tune with nature and we're so knowledgeable and we're so wise. And
Honestly,
so this is how we lead our life.
uh,
And
uh,
all of you others don't understand it.
yeah,
So if
and
you're
honestly,
okay with it, fine. But otherwise, you're not welcome.
right. If you come to La Florian and you want pineapple on your pizza, we're gonna tell you to go screw yourself, right?
I mean, yeah, yeah, understandable,
I
honestly,
I think it's
yes.
like Italians in that sense. It's kind of funny
It
analogy.
is. I think it is in that sense.
And I
Like
say I say that
they
I
feel very elitist about their culture, and I feel
there
like Italians
yeah.
feel the same.
There you go.
Specifically regarding food culture,
Yeah, but
but the elves,
it's not
it's
because you
all
don't want people to be like to enjoy it. You want to it's because you're like this is the right way to enjoy it. And they're the same
right.
way.
Exactly.
Elves are the same way. They're like this is the right way to live with nature. This is the right way for you to be conducting yourself. And when you come and you do it the other way, you're actually disrespecting us. You're disrespecting nature. You need to get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of
Right.
that's the vibe.
Yeah.
But if you're down with that, let's have a good time. Let's play music. Let's eat. Let's eat together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's fair. It's understandable why that's the case. I get it.
I'm trying to show that the elves do have a warm side, the same way Italians have a warm side. It's not all just
Right.
like
Right.
they're not Nordic racists. That's not what they are. I think
Well,
that's
no.
I think that's what like has evolved maybe from I don't know if it's from D&D or from just people's or these stupid shows. Like one of the biggest things I don't like about any of the movies and any of the depictions of elves from Lord of the Rings is that they make them look snobby, and they're not like that. There's a level of snobbiness,
Yeah,
but
like
but they're not like
it's
uppity
been
snobby.
the characteristics that are very multifaceted in Tolkien's works have been kind of brought to the extreme to simplify it
And it's wrong. It's a
in modern
disservice.
media.
Yeah.
It is a disservice, but also I feel like it's kind of I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's
Yeah.
really difficult for the medium that it has been portrayed in recently to well, I'm not even going to say equate it to what Tolkien did because there's no way to do that.
Right.
But at least to come close to it and give it a fair representation, even that is really difficult to do. So I feel like there was a necessity to oversimplify that was to its detriment,
And
though.
if you wanted to go for snobby, honestly, if you wanted to go for like uppity snobby, the closest you can get is the dwarves. They're probably the most
Yeah.
obnoxious. You know what I mean? And even they
The
have
dwarves are obnoxious AF, that's for sure.